That's all that matters. That's all that matters. So let me do a proper introduction for you.
Okay.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Shining Light Video Podcast Show, where I shine a light on my guests and the positivity they're spreading in their communities. I'm Michael Esposito, the host of the show and an insurance agent specializing in business and personal insurance. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. Peter Drucker. You like that one, Skip?
It's it's one of my favorites. I actually used that in a keynote speech last October when I was on stage. So yeah.
That's why I chose that quote for you. So I want to ask all of our viewers out there, do you have a positive company culture? Let us know in the comments. My guest today is a former professional baseball executive, professional speaker, business coach, and author. He's Skip Weisman, and he'll share how his speaking and business coaching company has worked with small business owners to create work environments that deliver championship level results. Please welcome Skip Weisman.
Yay.
And the crowd goes wild.
Imagine all the cheering going on in the background. Yeah.
You know, Skip, in all the ironic things in the world, right? Behind me, above our head here, I have a picture of, hang on, I'll show you, of, I have Yankee Stadium up there. And as I was setting up for the show, that fell on my head.
Ouch.
So I got a gash. And here we are with the baseball executive right here. So it must be a sign that I needed to have you on today.
Yeah, hopefully it's a good sign, and you're not going to get a concussion and have post-concussion syndrome for that. So whatever.
No, we're going to be all right. Well, Skip, can you share with us a little bit about your history? You have such a great background in terms of your profession as being a professional baseball executive, such an amazing background. And then what inspired you to become a public speaker and a business coach? Another fantastic story that you shared with me once over lunch. Could you share that with our guests today?
Sure. Well, I feel tremendously fortunate and grateful to have really two careers, that I love and I enjoy, and really made a difference in my life personally. And I got lucky as a young kid. You just connected with professional baseball in some way. I went to my first game when I was 7 years old at Shea Stadium with my dad, and became a New York Mets fan. But baseball was the primary focus of my life from the time I was 7 years old. And I was able to make a career out of it, which, if you knew me in high school, baseball was my life, and to be able to make a career out of it was tremendously rewarding and grateful. The odd thing was, after about 17 years of that, after coming to the Hudson Valley and starting the Hudson Valley Renegades, moving the team from Erie, Pennsylvania at the end of the 1993 season to start the 94 season, building a brand new stadium in Dutchess Stadium down in Fishkill. That was the dream of every minor league operator, to go into virgin territory and start from scratch and build it from the ground up, literally build it from the ground up. And I was able to do that. And I think after that happened, it was one of two things were going to happen to me in baseball. I was either going to stay in that role forever, and that would have been, I think, fine. I think would have a lot of loyalty between me and the owner, Marvin Goldklein. Or I was going to go somewhere else and do it again. But I had been in baseball to that point 15, 17 years. I had moved 6 times to get here. It was like a military life every 2 years. So I was tired of moving. I wanted to find a place I could call home. And this seemed like a really great place because of the way we were, just embraced by the community. And so if I was going to do something, I really didn't want to leave the community. And I just felt the need to do something else and have a new challenge in my life. And I was inspired by some folks that many people were familiar with, and you're familiar with, I know, with Anthony Robbins. And spending some time in his programs just was the catalyst for me to say, I could probably do something else, and I want to do that. And so I was able to make a transition after 20 years in baseball, and I've been doing what I've been doing now since 2002. So it's really strange in that I know I don't look that old, but I'm coming up on having a 20-year baseball career, and now this is an 18-year speaking, coaching, writing career. And so it's a little weird that but I've been out of baseball as long as I was in it, actually. So.
Wow. Yeah, that story that you shared with me of going to see Tony Robbins live at his different events, across the country and the world even. I think you said Hawaii once, right?
Hawaii. It was only in the United States, not the continental United States, but yeah, and I saw him 3 times. My wife sort of jokes with me. In between '98 and '99, I went to Hawaii 3 times. Spent more than 30 days in Hawaii at Tony events because they were the long, extended week-long events, and I did 2 days of actual Hawaii things. Everything else was in the seminar room, in the conference room at the hotel. So, but that was a great experience.
I can imagine it was a great experience. I mean, I'm inspired by Tony Robbins. I listen to his tapes or CDs or whatever you want to call them, MP3s now, right? But I've listened to all formats of Tony Robbins and watched his videos, and of course all other types of speakers. But I mean, to be inspired virtually by him, I can only imagine what it was like in person.
It's going to be really interesting. It's going to be really interesting with with his events moving forward, because he's all about proximity and touching and hugging and everything. So it'll be interesting to see how he adjusts.
Well, he's very physical. I've seen it. He grabs people by the shoulders. But I mean, if there's anybody that could adjust, it's him and people like him, which, you know, like yourself too, another public speaker who also is very inspirational when you speak. This is the Shining Light Video Podcast show where I shine a light on my guests and the positivity they're spreading in their communities. I'm here with Skip Weisman, and Skip Weisman has an awesome background as being a professional baseball executive, and we just spoke about how he was able to bring the Hudson Valley Renegades to the local area. But what we really want to speak today about is his business coaching company, where he helps small business owners create a great environment for their employees so that they achieve the most success. So there is a baseball question that I'm going to get to in a second. Sure. But I want to ask you about your business coaching business that you do for small businesses and how that all works. I must have said business about 15 times in that. But could you please explain to us how you help create these company cultures that are just able to excel in today's environment?
Well, it really starts at the very top of the organization. So in order for me to do my work with organizations, it requires me to find a business owner who is open to really taking their organization to that proverbial next level or whatever. And I use the metaphor of a championship team because if you follow sports at all, and I know we have some baseball fans on following here, getting through the regular season is one thing. And a certain level. And we've seen it all. You can win 100 games during the regular season, but then you get into the postseason, you get into the playoffs, and things change, right? It's now a short series. You're now against the best of the best, and you're not playing, just mediocre teams. You're playing the best of the best, and you have to step up and raise your level, right? There's always another level. And in order to achieve championship quality and championship performance in professional sports, you've got to continually evolve and get better as the season goes by, and then once you get to the playoffs. And I think it's the same in business. If a company's already doing well, what is that next level? And most companies I come across that engage or interact with me and just have the conversation, they're doing okay, but they're sort of just going along. They're comfortable. They're somewhat, I don't say, some are stagnant, some are sliding back, especially now with this environment. But even in the growth period, and a lot of my clients started coming to me with this new concept around championship performance right after the last meltdown in 2008, 2009. So they're coming out of it 2012, 2014, when I started really getting my foothold in this concept. Still, those companies were somewhat stagnant. They were just going through the motions. And it's an interesting dynamic, what I find, in that the business owner is sort of lamenting and complaining or not happy with what the employees are bringing to the table. And so they come to me and want me to fix them, sort of type thing. And when I do my initial work, which is always a cultural assessment, which is basically interviewing individual employees or doing focus groups to find out what their side of the story is, I find that they feel the same about the business owner and they're leaders of the company. There's no inspiration there. We're just showing up and expecting people to, to work, but no real inspiration. So it's really bringing those two forces together to create really where do we want to go and what do we want this company to be about. That's where everybody wins, and another hero of mine is Bruce Springsteen. I've seen Bruce a number of times in concert, 87, but we won't talk about that obsession. But in 1985, when he took off as a superstar, he ended his concerts with a statement that said, "Nobody wins unless everybody wins." And then he would launch into Born to Run as the final song. And I really believe that in business. A business owner, I think, is only as good as his people or her people, right? And a lot of business owners will give you lip service that my people are assets and I can't do this without them. But they treat them like expenses. And you've got this profit and loss statement. You've got the revenue on one side, you got the expenses, and then on the balance sheet, you have the assets and liabilities. And I think business owners often will espouse the fact that their people are assets, but they're treated like expenses and liabilities. And I help business owners shift that and really begin communicating with their people that reinforces the fact that they are assets and they tap into them, and the creativity and the motivation, inspiration that is lying dormant in most people in a work environment. And we're not tapping into that. And it's really a waste of energy and resources. And so I'm able to bridge that gap, turn that around, and get everybody, as they say, for the metaphor, rowing in the same direction instead of pulling against each other.
Right. I think what you said in there about interviewing the employees is so crucial. I witnessed one of your speeches where you spoke about one of your clients that you worked with, and the issue they thought that they were having with their employee. After interviewing the employee, you found the solution between the two and were able to make a really great workplace. I think that when we're trying to find a solution to a problem, interviewing what is perceived as the problem is probably going to help you find the solution, and that's amazing. Something that does tie to what you're saying here in terms of revenue, assets, and things of that nature is my cousin Fred's question. And now before you answer it, Skip, I'm going to warn you, his son is in sports management, so be careful on how you answer it. So Fred is asking, what are your views on reopening the baseball games without fans? Do you feel that MLB will open up to fans anytime soon? Now, I think that this question can be handled in, of course, the sports manner of answering it in sports. But I think in relation to what you're talking about with as a business consultant and looking at the MLB as a business and being a CEO in the business, I think that this question definitely relates to some of the things that you already do in your day-to-day. So could you take that for us?
Boy, if I wish I had a crystal ball. It's so hard, and there's so many pressures on both sides of things, right? And if Major League Baseball never opened up again, the owners of the teams would be fine, right? They're multimillionaires, billionaires mostly now, or they're some type of conglomerate. The players, not so much, especially if they're just up and coming, right? And so that's really a sad thing. So there's pressures on all sides to get something going and playing. So I think they're going to try and do something. I've heard lately, the July 4th time period to try and launch something. I don't see how you open up a stadium and have people in it of the magnitude that you really need. I think you might be able to do something with social distancing and just open up certain sections. And, as I saw some videos or photos from the weekend, like bars have these balloons around people, like tires around people that are keeping social distancing. You could probably create something like that in a stadium. But your 50,000 seat stadium, is going to have 15,000 people in it or something like that. I think you could do something like that. I would rather do that than just play ball with nobody in the stands. Personally, I think you have to figure out some way to do that and make it safe. But then you have the other stuff. Do you take people's temperature walking into the ballpark? After 9/11, we had everybody having bag checks and all that security, right? Going through the spectrometers or whatever they're called. Now, are you going to have everybody's temperature being taken when they walk into the ballpark? Now, What does that say? Now, what about the HIPAA laws, right? Everybody now knows whether you're healthy or not. There's a lot of implications or ramifications that people aren't thinking about. Plus, then you have the workers. That is above my pay grade to answer that question. I would like to see it. I would have, if there's no fans in the stands, you also have to think about what's the allure of this. Watching a game on TV, a lot of the energy and the excitement you get from watching the game on TV comes from the ambiance of the crowd, right? And have you ever watched a spring, maybe an early spring training game? It's like quiet and it's dead. There's not that same enthusiasm. So I can't imagine playing baseball or watching a baseball game on TV with nobody in the stands. It's going to be to me, it'd be pretty dull and quiet. You need some of that energy. So
Energy.
Something's got to be done because it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and what's the residual impact? You've got the part-time workers at the ballpark. You've got the front office people like I was. The Renegades right now are struggling with that. There's a dozen full-time employees working for the Renegades, all the minor leagues. What are they going to do? Can they even play? Who are they going to play with if they don't have the draft in June? I would like to see it. I hope they can figure out some way to do it. It's such a part of our culture, sports in general. I mean, if you couldn't go out and you're isolated at home, you've got games on TV that you can go watch. Now the only thing we watch on TV is the classic sports, all the replays of all the games, right? But how long does that last, right? How many classics are there we can put up with? So I think we've got to create something at some point, but I am concerned that the 2020 season may not get played because I think we're going to start seeing other issues with infections and what's going to happen as we gradually slowly open. Is that going to grow infections in hospitals and everything? I don't know. Hoping that we're not going to have a second wave of this thing that's overwhelming. And then you have the other side of the argument is the herd immunity that everybody wants. So maybe that'll help. I don't know. I'm not an epidemiologist.
We don't have the crystal ball, but what we do have is your experience and knowledge, and there's obviously a major interest in your baseball knowledge and your business knowledge here on here. So I think that maybe if we could just have a small little case study real quick. I'm kind of interested in this. So let me just introduce you to some people that have joined. This is the Shining Light video podcast show where I shine a light on my guests and the positivity they're spreading in their communities. I'm here with Skip Weisman. He's a championship business coach. He helps you and your business, your small business, get back into form, open up the doors of communication to be able to bring you to a championship level. Some of the conversation that we're having here is based off of Skip's background as being a professional baseball executive. And so we're talking about what the MLB should be doing, but even breaking it down to a small time level. You are the CEO over at the Hudson Valley Renegades. Let's just say you got a call tomorrow from the Hudson Valley Renegades saying, hey, Skip, obviously we're in this pandemic. Can you help us out here? Can we hire you for 5 minutes? Because that's how much more we're going to spend on this topic. Can we hire you for 5 minutes? And could you give us our best advice as to what to do going into the 2020 season here?
Yeah, well, it's a great question. I mean, so in order to do that, there's got to be some edict from Major League Baseball and the minor leagues that, we're going to open up, and we're going to open up at some time period. So we'll play that out. Right? That's the thought experiment. Yes, we're going forward. Teams coming to town. Major League Baseball is going to start July 4th. We're going to start July 15th. Right? Let's play that game. We got 2 months. So the thing that people don't understand, or I don't think they don't realize, let's say, is that minor league baseball and the Renegades are just like any other small business. It's no different. It just happens to be a very, very unique, industry, let's say. It's the entertainment industry. So whatever precautions that you have to do in any other business, you're going to have to do with the Renegades. So I'm actually doing a webinar next week on how to, really reopen your company and give your employees comfort that it's a safe environment, and how you can get them to help you grow the company moving forward and turn this thing around. And so it all comes back to really understanding human motivation. And what you've got to quell their fears. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And in the webinar, I'm going to be showing the hierarchy of needs from Maslow and how we were really at the higher end of that pyramid before COVID. Now we've got knocked down a couple of rungs, and we're now more concerned about some of our other needs. And so we've got to quell those, and that's safety and security, right? So the first thing we have to do is what can we do at this ballpark to ensure safety, physical, emotional safety of everybody, employees, part-timers, full-timers, and obviously the fans. Again, what are the guidelines going to be for temperature taking, for ensuring people coming through the door are safe? What are the guidelines for social distancing in the ballpark? How do we set that up? I think those are the first conversations we have to have, and then go build from there. I think we would want to do whatever we could to obviously create the safety, but I don't think we want to open up and play games without people in the stands. I mean, I just think if you have to just to get through and fulfill whatever obligations there are for the players and their commitments and their contracts. But it'd be a pretty boring season without people in the stands.
I think to your point, and again, it goes back to how you handle the workplace, and you just did it there, is you're going to pretty much interview the problem. And what's the problem? Is COVID, right? And you're interviewing it, saying, how can we find a solution, which is safety? And that's really the solution, is finding out the safety first. And I see Hudson Valley Eats is on here. Janet is on, and she's giving you a thumbs up. And Janet was on Friday, and we were speaking about this, about opening up restaurants, and she had the same advice for restaurant owners, is put safety first at the top of the list.
Yeah, and my question for Janet, and I've been reading about this recently too, is can restaurants' business models survive with social distancing? Because they are set up to earn so much revenue based on the number of seats in the restaurant, right? Mm-hmm. And if you only can have a half or a third of those tables full, do the numbers work from a financial perspective? And I think that's going to be a challenge for a lot of businesses. I'm saying, restaurant owners saying, great, I can open up, but I can't open up financially because the numbers just don't work at that level.
Right. We're going to have to find a way. But going back to the whole thing of finding a solution, improving communication is going to help make things work, even for the businesses that are struggling. And that's what you help do. This is the Shining Light. This is the Shining Light video podcast show where I shine a light on my guests and the positivity they're spreading in their communities. I'm here with Skip Weisman. Skip Weisman has a business coaching company where he helps your business get to a championship level by implementing some of his communication skills into your business. Skip, you wrote a book called The 7 Deadliest Communication Sins. Seven, right? And in that book, you talk about some of these communication sins or faux pas or mistakes that business owners can make. Could you share with us, you don't have to share all 7, or you can if you'd like, but could you share with us some of those mistakes that business owners might make in terms of communication, and what you would see as a solution that they could implement as, of course, a Band-Aid, because I'm sure that this is a much larger topic, but just a quick Band-Aid for some of these problems.
Sure. And that's, it is just a Band-Aid, I guess you could say, but...
Well, unless they get you in the door, it's a Band-Aid. You got to come in with the antiseptic, right?
It is, but it isn't. What people don't understand is it's pretty easy. The solution is really simple and easy to implement. So I've broken the 7 communication sins into 2 categories. What I call the 3 primary that are really overarching and all-encompassing that impact the work environment globally, let's say. And then there's another 4 that are mostly just impact you and I on a one-on-one basis when we're communicating. But there's 3 that are really, really important that business owners need to bring into their culture and really make it a standard way of communicating. And the first is specificity. There is a real lack of specificity, which leads to a lack of clarity, which leads to a breakdown of communication. Because when we talk about a lack of communication, and that's a phrase I hear all the time. There is no lack of communication in any organization. That's something we have to shift our mindset from, because communication is always ongoing. Right? There is never no communication. So if what you're calling a lack of communication is just some message being sent that something's wrong, right? So we have to explore it from that perspective. And it usually stems from a lack of specificity. So if there's a lack of communication, there's a lack of specificity on what should be happening or what's not happening, right? And that's the real breakdown. And the challenge is, and where I can help many times, is sometimes when people are communicating, they think they're being specific when they're really not. It's still vague. And so we've got to drill down. And so here's an example. I was helping a client put together a program to hire, to do some hiring about a year or so ago. And we were generating criteria. And one of the women who was going to be doing the hiring said, so I want somebody who is open to learning and growing. I said, great. So that sounds pretty specific. You want somebody who's going to be open to learning and growing. I said, great. Would you want somebody who's open, just open to learning and growing? Or would you want somebody who has a desire for learning and growing? What's the difference between being open to it and having a desire for it? What do you think, Michael? What's the difference between just being open?
Well, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're being open to it. You're just like, okay, yeah, you're going to share your idea with me, and I'm either going to accept it or not. But if I have a desire for this, for the question here, if I have a desire and it's all about me, I'm going to go after it myself without you looking over my shoulder. I'm going to go after it, just like, like this podcast almost. It's like nobody told me to do this. This is a desire. This is something I'm doing on my own accord.
Right. So let's take it to another level. So I got her to agree that she wanted a desire for learning and growing. So what if we took that and added to it, said, what if we're looking for somebody who has a drive for learning and growing, right? So how is that even, as I said earlier, there's always another level if you want to get to that championship level. What's the difference between having a desire but having a drive for it, right? How does that change?
Well, I think that goes to Tony Robbins, who talks about goals and action items. And so the desire is kind of like the goal, the dream. You desire it. Yeah, I want to start a video podcast. I want to do it. I want to do it. But now the drive is to start researching, start doing all the work, the legwork to get this thing going. There's the drive there, right?
Right. So the way I see it is, open is if you come to me asking me to learn something or get some training or whatever, I'll say, sure, happy to do it. I'll go for it. The desire is, I really want it, and I really wish you would come to me and ask me to do this, right? With a drive, I'm going to be pushing you to develop me. I'm going to go out and say, hey, Michael, I found this program. I'd really like to take it. Would you support me with it? Would you pay for it? Whatever, right? Those are three very different levels. Now, being open to it is one level of specificity.
Right.
But do you see how we can escalate and we can get even more specific? And there's a lot of opportunities in workplaces to shift that conversation and ramp it up the specificity. So that's number one. And there's a huge lack of specificity in our everyday communication that really causes most of our problems. If we can solve that, when I do my seminars and workshops and keynotes, I ask the audience, would you like to improve productivity by 50% almost overnight? And everybody says yes. This is how you do it. Become more specific in what you're asking. Right? Michael, I need you to get me this by the end of the week. What's the end of the week mean? I need this by noon Friday. May, whatever, 21st, 22nd, whatever this Friday is. Now that's specific. Your end of the week and my end of the week might have,
right. Could be Thursday.
Different meanings. Right. To me, I need it to do something with it on Friday, the end of the week, which means I need it Thursday. Exactly. You say the end of the week, your end of the week could be Sunday for all I know. I mean, if you think about it. So,
yes.
And that's where miscommunication comes from. And that's where oftentimes conflict starts. And it starts devaluing the trust in organizations. So that's my number one. If we do nothing else, just really look at how you can be more specific. The second is what I call lack of immediacy, urgency, and promptness, which is where we're procrastinating, we're putting things off, we're not following through as directly as we could. That, again, breaks down trust and commitment. And that also is an epidemic. And the third is a lack of directness and candor, where we're beating around the bush. We're not saying what we need. It's related to a lack of specificity, but oftentimes we're not direct to the person. So I might go behind your back and complain or whine about you or say, boy, I wish Michael would do this because he's really dropping the ball. I don't come back to you. You get it second or third hand, and that devalues the relationship between you and I because you know I'm talking about you behind your back. Right. Those three combined are what I call global communication issues in the work environment, where that's where I'll start, because we've got to raise the bar on those three areas. And when we do that, that's the start of it. And again, it usually all starts at the top. I want the business owner to be more specific, more proactive, and more direct and candid with people. And so that's one part of the model that makes the biggest difference if you can really start there.
Yeah, I think that what you talk about there too is, I mean, really trust is the foundation to all of that, is that now you're establishing trust with your employees when you're being so specific as to what you want out of them and when you want it, and you're not speaking behind their back, and you're being honest with them about how you feel about their performance, whether it's good or bad. Yep. You're building trust, which is, of course, as we know, one of the biggest breakdowns in communication. When there's a lack of trust, there's a lack of communication, and that's one of the biggest issues. And if you want to get Skip's book, just go to his website and he'll be able to share that with you. It's a great read. This is the Shining Light video podcast show where I shine a light on my guests and the positivity they're spreading in their communities. My guest today is Skip Weisman. He's a former professional baseball executive. He's a professional speaker, a business coach, and author. And we spoke a little bit about his background. We even did a little case study on the Hudson Valley Renegades and what they could do to reopen their season. Skip, as a professional speaker, you always have to get on stage with a positive attitude, with a positive mindset. You have to look at things in the best ways, even when things are falling apart around you, and you have to get up there and perform at your very best. What do you see as a positive outcome from this quarantine that we're experiencing today?
Wow, that's a great question. It's a tough question, I think, for all of us, right? I think there's a couple of things. One, I think I'm in this group of a mastermind group of other professional speakers. And one guy was really stressing before this. He was really stressing about his life. He had so much stuff to do. He could never get it done personally and professionally. And we were talking last week and he said, I always wish there could just be a pause button on our life so I could get caught up. And we said, Kevin, you got your pause button here, right? And he is so relaxed. He's getting all this personal stuff done. And especially in America, the go, 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 go mindset and culture of America, I think, was catching up to us. I really think, the stress of everybody being scheduled and parents who had kids that were just lined up with activities after activities. You have kids, I don't, so I don't know what that was like. I can only imagine. So I think this pause button has been really good. I felt that I posted something on Facebook last night. About a week or two ago, my wife came to me and said, you have a chess set upstairs. Will you teach me chess? Great. So we've been playing chess every other night. I haven't played chess in 40 years. So I had to get reacclimated to the piece moves and all this stuff. But it's been really energizing. I really enjoyed it. I want to get back into it. We subscribed to the Masterclass series and Gary Kasparov as a Masterclass on chess. We're going to go watch that series together so we can learn chess together. So I think a lot of things like that are happening. And I've enjoyed this time because it has allowed us to put a little pause on it, to slow down a little bit. So I think if we look at it from that perspective, I think it can be really positive and empowering. Now, those are first world issues, right? If you're struggling, if you're out of work, if you're struggling to put food on the table, and now you're really back down at the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you can't enjoy those things. So I feel tremendously grateful that I'm in that position to be able to do that. So I don't make light of the situation for people. But the only way to come out of this is to really have a positive vision. Tony Robbins says you got to be realistic. You have to accept it as it is, but don't see it worse than it is. And then to get out of it, you have to see it a little better than it is, and to move towards that. And so I think, acceptance is good, but we can't stay in acceptance. We have to see, okay, what can I do? So from my perspective, I'm basically sort of, I won't say out of business, but my business has slowed significantly. I've got a couple of clients that have been with me since before COVID, and we're sort of on pause. I'm checking in every couple of weeks, and we're talking about stuff we can do, but it's not, we're not aggressively moving forward. So I'm trying to pivot a little bit and create programs around the environment we're in. So I just created a workshop on how to make your remote workforce work, because a lot of companies have been forced to allow people to finally work remotely. They may have been asking for it for years, and we can't do that. I can't trust you to get, you're going to be binge watching Netflix or renovating your bathroom on my time. Can't let you do that. Now they're figuring out that, we've made it work. So I've created a webinar around that. I've created a webinar on how to accelerate your growth forward out of this. When you're inviting your employees back on site, what is that going to look like? How can you do it, safely as we did? And then how do we get them involved in growing the business and turning this around moving forward? So I think we have to look for those opportunities where we can be relevant and add value in this new environment. That's what I'm trying to do. And I think there's opportunities out there. In every crisis, there's always opportunities. We just have to really look a little bit deeper, turn up other rocks and stones and start looking for where those opportunities can be. And, you're going to see some creative stuff come out of this. I think that's going to make a big difference. And for me, the thing when you talk about work environments, I am really excited about how the work environment is going to change, because I think we need to be allowing people to be more flexible in how they work and how they do their job for us in companies. And I think the remote workplace is going to be accelerated. And I think it's going to impact commercial real estate, because I don't need this office with 30 workstations. I only need 15, because only half my work environment, I only need 15 people on site, and we'll rotate or whatever. I think some of those things are going to change. I think it's going to change for the better and give people a little more flexible way to work.
Right. And I think what you said, the pause there is definitely something that's been a common theme on this show, is people mentioning the pause and being able to learn chats or learn a new skill. But something else that you said there in terms of the virtual workspace, I think goes back to your book and to what we referenced earlier about the trust and specificity of, if you're going to be working remotely, you as an employer need to be specific as to the tasks that you need that employee to do. Because the truth is that we're home with our kids. We have a lot of distractions. We have a lot of things that are happening. And I may be working on a project, but I have to stop because my daughter needs help with something. So if the owner of the business, the boss, whatever it is specific as to the task, and like you said, gives a deadline as to when that task is due, which is realistic, then you could take that moment, learn how to play some chess, play with your daughter, play with your kids, and then get back to the task at hand. So I think what you said there, the positive also to come out of it is that communication, is that specificity coming from the boss and the managers. Something else that you touched on, which gets us back to into our next thing, is being the fact that, we have some first world problems, but there are larger issues around us in our world. And we're going to touch on that in a second. This is the Shining Light video podcast show, where I shine a light on my guests and the positivity they're spreading in their communities. I'm here with Skip Weisman. He has an extensive background as a CEO to a professional baseball league, not league, but team. I wish it was league for you, Skip, but team. And in that world that he lived in for so many years, he learned how to work and to communicate with his employees. He then went off and learned and studied from some of the best in the business, such as Tony Robbins, on communication skills. And he also authored a book called The 7 Deadliest Communication Sins. He is here today, and we're just talking about some of his background, talking about some tips and strategies for businesses to overcome some of the communication problems that they may have in the workplace. But something that we're also talking about is the positive that can come out of this quarantine. And as Skip just mentioned, we're dealing with kind of like first world problems, but there's bigger problems in the world. So Skip, you are very active in your community. You're a Toastmaster, you're a BNIer, you're also part of the National Speaking Association, and all of these organizations that you're affiliated with are non-for-profits and are all about serving the community. What are you seeing in your community as any acts of kindness and generosity today?
Yeah, I think a lot of what I'm saying is that I think we need more of, and needed more of coming into this, is I think everybody is much more empathetic and compassionate. I think in the way they're dealing with individuals, and being much more open. A lot of giving. So many of my speaker colleagues are just giving of themselves and offering free programs, free trainings, free webinars for their associations and organizations that they typically speak with or work with. And so I think what I'm saying is those people who have resources and are able to provide their insights, their learning, whatever. I think they're being much more open to that and being much more compassionate of their fellow human beings out of this. And I think it's I haven't seen it like this in a long time.
Right.
Because this thing has been all encompassing. In 2008, 2009, with the financial setback, that was really one or two or a couple of areas of our economy and of our world, right? This has impacted everybody. There's not a person who's been impacted in one way or another significantly. And so I think the organizations that I'm seeing are just really much more open to helping and providing some additional resources that they may not have had to do in the past. The National Speakers Association has changed their annual conference is all virtual now, but it's been spread out over like 4 months, and so they're doing weekly programs now for stuff that is and made it much more affordable for speakers. And the fact that people are putting their memberships on hold, if you're due to renew or you're due for a program, they're extending payments and stuff, and that's unheard of. When people are foregoing rents, and putting mortgages on hold, that's just that could never be done before. I don't know. All of a sudden, we're figuring it how to do it.
Right,
so,
right.
It's been really inspiring to see how people have stepped up and been more concerned about somebody else than themselves.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I bring that up too, is just that what we're seeing a lot in our community is, like you said, we have some of these first world problems, but we are the people, we are the ones with the first world problems, quote unquote, that need to step up, that need to help fill the food pantries, that need to help the people that don't have necessarily the opportunity to go play a chess game. So we are the ones, and that's what we're seeing in our communities. And Skip, you and I are part of several organizations together, and we're seeing those organizations step up to do more for their communities. So I think that's really great that you bring that up. Now, being that you're so active in your community, I always have to ask this question, Skip, and I know that you and your wife do like to get out and frequent the local restaurants and businesses in our area. So Skip, what's one place that when this quarantine is over, you can't wait to go visit, bust down their doors and say, take care of us?
Wow, that's a great question. We do, if it's from a restaurant perspective, I'll go back to the last restaurant we went to before this happened. On May 13th, it was Friday, May 13th, and my wife and I always do Pizza Friday. And we love the old school pizza place or Italian restaurant Alloy's in the city of Poughkeepsie. So we went to Alloy's for the last time on March 13th. March 13th, right when the shutdown started. And we did it consciously. So we want to go there, physically eat there and patronize them before this thing really shuts down. So we'd love to go back to Alloy's and have a good Italian dinner that we used to be able to get. And our last one was 2 months ago. So there's a lot of local Poughkeepsie eateries that we're looking forward to getting back to.
Right. Yeah. I think I know Alloy's over in Poughkeepsie. It's not far from the rail trail, right?
Yeah. It's a couple 100 yards from the rail trail. Yeah.
That's what I thought. Yep. So I know it pretty well. Yeah. Cool. This has been the Shining Light Video Podcast Show, where I shine a light on my guests and the positivity they're spreading in their communities. My guest today has been Skip Weisman. Skip, before I wrap the show, I would like to just send it back to you one last time. Any messages, any shout outs, any business handles or websites that you would like to share with everybody?
Sure.
Could you do so?
Sure. Two, I'll give you. One is the book. The book is at 7deadliestcommunicationsins.com, and the number or the numeral works for the URL. My main website is yourchampionshipcompany.com. Those are the best two places to find me. I am on Facebook and Instagram now. I have to figure this out, and LinkedIn and Twitter. So you can all find me there. Just search me. I'm pretty active on all of those, except for Instagram. I got to get more active on Instagram. But I just really wish everybody well, and look for ways to stay safe, but to take advantage of some of these things and use the pause to great advantage, and just really connect with your family and your fellow neighbors, because my wife and I are walking every afternoon in our neighborhood. We're seeing so many more people and couples out walking and social distancing, but getting more exercise in this time. So stay healthy, stay safe. And as they used to say on the old TV show Hill Street Blues, be careful out there.
Yes. And I also like your quote from Tony Robbins, which was, I acknowledge the situation, but don't see it worse than it is. And, I think that's a really great quote that you left us with as well today. Thank you so much, Skip. And thanks for coming on today, because I think that your information that you're sharing with us today is very necessary with the knowledge that we may be opening up some of our workplaces in the near future, not too far off from today. And stay tuned this week, everyone, because I have another person coming in very similar to Skip. He works in HR and works for a company called Ethan Allen Workforce. And he'll also be sharing some information as to how to be able to help with acclimating to the new work environment that we're in. And he'll also probably be referencing to some of the things that Skip just spoke about today. So please pay attention to that. This has been the Shining Light Video Podcast Show, where I shine a light on my guests and the positivity they're spreading in their communities. My guest today has been Skip Weisman. He is the one who's going to help your business get back to a championship level through his communications. Please visit his website, visit his handles, find out anything you can through him. Just ask him any questions. He's a great resource. He's going to be able to help you through that. A couple of announcements before we do wrap the show. I just want to thank all of our donors. We have approached $2,400 towards our goal of $5,000 for our fundraiser, Mask for the Frontline in Haiti. We are ending the fundraiser at the end of May, so we're asking if you could visit our GoFundMe campaign and make a donation of $8 to buy one mask for one frontline worker in Haiti. We would really appreciate that. The link's in my bio and the description of this video. I also want to thank our sponsor, HB Gold Rewards, which is one of the largest Facebook business networking groups in the Hudson Valley. HB Gold Rewards has partnered with Forgotten Children of Haiti to offer a promo code. If you enter promo code FCH, HB Gold Rewards will donate $8 of their $10 gold card to Forgotten Children of Haiti. I want to thank everybody again and thank you, and ask you to tune in tomorrow. DJ Echo will be coming on. He'll be speaking about the entertainment business, the entertainment industry, and what he's doing to help his fellow DJs out there succeed in this time. Thanks, everybody, for watching the Shining Light Video Podcast Show, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you, Skip, for joining us. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Michael. Bye, everybody.